the 304, I would love to see a 12-team playoff in college football and home playoff games. Your thoughts? Look, I'm all for the 12-team playoff. I would be for anything up to 16. Like, I think after 16, you're probably 16 even convolutes it a little bit more. But like, I would embrace a 16-team playoff. Anything other than that. But I think you're going to have to do home playoff games in the first round.
I'm not on board with 16. I think that's starting to get into too much territory. And, do we want to see 5 SEC schools in the field of 16?
Yeah.
Because that's probably what it would turn into. Me personally, no, I don't want to see that. We're already going to get 4 of the 8 probably, or, 3 of the 8. I don't necessarily want to see 5 of the 16. And I don't think that, in most years, your 5th place SEC team, and not just trying to pick on them either. I'm really not, but they're just who we all center around, basically. I don't know that they deserve a shot at the national title. The 5th place SEC team that would again, or even the 4th place SEC team that would again. I think you're looking at your top 2 or 3 teams in any given conference, and some may not even have 2 or 3. But outside of that, I think that's a little bit too much. But yeah, I'm cool with the 12. I think it's a nice compromise. Now, as far as the playoff sites, I think you have to do the home initially because, what are they expecting as far as people's travel? That's been the big hang-up with the playoff is, like, if you suddenly turn the bowl games into, like, quarterfinal rounds or whatever, so the Boca Raton Bowl is suddenly, like, your first-round game. Well, if you're an Alabama fan having to, which, just throwing something out there, but if you did where it was, like, all these bowl games suddenly, well, I don't know that all these bowl games are going to be excited sharing the same team, 3 weeks in a row or, 3 weeks over the course of 5 weeks or whatever it is. So, in theory, Alabama would play in the Boca Raton in the first round and then play in the Sun in the second round, and then they'll play in the Fiesta in the semis, and then they play in the road. Like, how would that even work? So I don't think that would fly. And just to travel, like, there's few and far between fans, even the biggest boosters, that could jump after a full regular season of travel and then go, to L.A. for a first-round game and then to Miami for the second-round game, and then you got to go to Arlington for the third-round game. People, especially right now, like, I don't know how many people are going to be able to do that. So, yeah, I think you have the home games. There should be a benefit to finishing higher. You earn a home playoff game, and that's an incentive. And then, then you spread it out and you move it to maybe more of a neutral site in that second round. And then you have your bowl incorporation those last couple rounds, or I guess however you do that. But, yeah, first round, I think just for the sake of people's wallets, you got to make it a home game for at least one fan base.
Well, and you can't, like, the cool thing about the NCAA basketball tournament and why it works for them, so many places where you can travel 3 weeks in a row and do that is, well, one, each week it gets less and less of the fan base, which would be the same way. But, you can, because the NCAA tournament is in a city, count on selling out like a third of the tickets from just basketball fans who just want to come and sit and watch it because it's there in their town, which I don't think you can necessarily do with.
No, there's multiple games, too. Exactly. You're not just buying for Baylor, Oral Roberts. You're also getting Cincinnati and Akron, and you're getting Texas and Wisconsin, and you're getting, Pitt and Syracuse. So, yeah, that's... Yeah.
So it's not... You're not going to get that if it's, LSU versus Michigan and playing in El Paso. Like,
No. Yeah, none of that would make sense. And then it wouldn't make sense for the teams that, want to go to El Paso and play in the Sun Bowl because it's a big deal for their program to get to a bowl game and be, in a bowl game. But... yeah, so the point being, like, the whole bowls that hosting throughout or neutral sites throughout, I think that would be pretty problematic ultimately. You'd certainly have your diehards that would make it work, but I think for the fans' sake that, it makes sense. Like, you should have an incentive if you are one of the, let's say the top 4 teams or whatever. I think it just makes sense that you would have some home field territory. And why would you not want to bring it to some college stadiums? Like, it's college football. It's not the NFL. We don't need everything in Las Vegas. I understand why we take everything to Las Vegas or to Los Angeles or to Arlington and the same places over and over. They can all still be a part of it, but I just don't think it needs to be the whole playoff. It's college football. So, yeah, let me see a first-round game, Alabama hosting Wisconsin in Tuscaloosa, Yeah. And, hey, Alabama would have home field advantage. Well, they're number 1 or number 2 seed. They deserve home field advantage. Like, that makes simple sense to me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Plus, it will cut down on costs a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
We're kind of living in an inflation period right now. I don't know if everybody's noticed. And just in general, you got the money going towards NIL now. I mean, that's eating into boosters' pocketbooks, and I know some of them will never even feel it. But that's the minority, and even then, people with a lot of money still there's a point eventually for many is like, so I contributed $1 million to this NIL fund, and I'm also got season tickets for the whole family, and I've also got travel. Like, there's some people that can make that swing, but the average person, as diehard as they are, I mean, it's probably going broke trying to travel around and follow every single playoff site and do all of that. Yeah.
And look, not every school is as big as Ohio State, too. So, like,
right.
If you're Baylor, but I mean, like, just a size of school like that, and you've got potentially three games. Well, hopefully one of them's a home game, and then maybe the next one you're going to have less people have to travel to, but you're going to have maybe less people than you would if it's a championship game because people are holding out hope that that's the one they're going to spend their money on.
And that always brings me back to Baylor as a small school and why I was told by a former college football player who knew some people that were a part of the committee that Baylor would never make it because they're too small and they wouldn't be able to bring the crowds for multiple games. He was told that by somebody that's apparently in the know. This was years ago at this point. And so we were having a conversation about, it's Baylor and their playoff chances and all that. And he's like, I'm just telling you right now, like, if there's any decision, like, they're not going to invite Baylor because it's too small of a school. And what are they after? They're after money, and they're after packing the stadiums. And I understand that concern on their part, but it's also kind of a BS reason for a team that's deserving to be in a playoff potentially to not get it because their fan base is too small. But then again, we are talking about a sport that basically tilts everything towards the big boys. And so, an expanded field is pretty much their only chance other than going undefeated. Yeah. And I don't know how it would work as far as if they played at Santa Clara in the semifinals and then played in New Orleans in the national championship game. I think Baylor fans would make that work. But, that does have to come into consideration.
But I mean, and Baylor's not the only school that would have the problem,
No.
But they are kind of unique in that, like, not unique, but they're not. I'm just using that as an example.
Not everybody's Michigan and Ohio State with 100,000 plus, 20, alums in their 20s or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they don't even probably have 100,000 total. I mean, maybe they do, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculously different size when we're talking about these schools.
Yeah, watch some of the commercials like the big schools like Ohio State where they'll be like 9 million. I know it's not that, but It sounds like that. Like this many hundreds of thousands or a million alumni worldwide. You're like, well, dang, nobody. I mean, Ohio State could play a game, in Kinshasa, and they'd probably have enough people show up to make it worth their while. So, they're huge. Not everybody's like that. So, anyway, all right.